Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Adrian Burt from VTIC, and welcome to our webinar series. We're thrilled to have you aboard for today's session called Brand You, Not Your Product or Service. VTIC, of course, is the peak body for Victoria's tourism and events industry, and in partnership with the Victorian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, VTIC membership provides solutions to everyday business challenges. We offer members the latest news and information, connections to other tourism and events professionals, input to our One Voice policy agenda, accredited training and invaluable business advice to help your business be more sustainable and profitable. Today's webinar is another example of our member-to-member connection, and I'm absolutely thrilled to have Jo-Anne Grist here, ready to present this great training session. Jo-Anne works with small business owners to review and reinvent their business systems and approach. She'll work with you to guide and develop optimal thinking and simple strategies that enable you to turn your dreams into plans, your plans into action, and your action into business results. She'll help you get clear on what you want, create a pathway forward that is achievable, and assist you to put the structure in place that will ease the demands on your time and increase your profitability as you build your brand. As this one, as I mentioned, will be recorded today, we'll ask you feel free to enter any questions along the way and comments, but we will cover those off at the end of the session, and we'll do our best to answer as many as possible. It is now my pleasure, ladies and gentlemen, to hand you over to Jo-Anne Grist. Jo.
Thanks, Adrian, and thanks for the welcome. It's a pleasure to be presenting to the members today, and thank you very much for your patience about coming back on. We really appreciate that, and all the IT gremlins have gone, thank goodness, with the sunshine's out. So let's progress. So webinar content today is all about your personal brand, and is about how you appear to the world around you. The webinar will get you clear on who is your niche, or presenting to your niche or target market, and your point of difference, and how your brand will actually add value. So I'm Jo-Anne Grist, and as Adrian mentioned, I'm a business performance consultant and mentor. Today, you'll discover the top 5 ways to build a successful and personal brand online. I've been instrumental in several startup businesses, mainly in the tourism sector. I'm now very passionate about working with small business owners and entrepreneurs to find solutions to challenges, establish strategic plans to achieve vision and goals, advise on marketing, business systems and structure, to find business and lifestyle balance and live a life you love. So my question to you today is have a look at these questions and see if any of these resonate with you. Do you feel stuck in your business, or work long hours and have no strategies in place to grow your business and end up feeling overwhelmed and burnt out? Do you feel like you don't have a steady flow of leads coming into your business, or you worry that you're not generating enough income to live a lifestyle that you dreamt of, or you believe you haven't grown as a person and neither has your business? So perhaps it's time to review your marketing, or how you're doing your marketing and promoting yourself, and maybe you need a restructure, I should say. So to lead into, I'll just go back one slide there, to lead into your today's presentation, I thought I'd just give you a little bit of background about how I came to rebrand my business. So I've worked in the tourism sector for 20 plus years. I started off in Tasmania, and my partner and I sold a business there. I had just finished a diploma of business in hospitality, and I took up a position with Tourism WA in Western Australia. And it came at the time that they were actually going through a rebranding phase. So I came on as their acting brand manager. At the end of that period, I joined Perth Convention Bureau, and with the thought, when I actually did do a diploma business, I'd be starting my own business. So I started up a restaurant gourmet store catering business and showcasing regional producers and suppliers. Moved back to Melbourne, did a little bit of a detour for a while, and I became a business manager for an HR services company. After about 4 years, I suddenly thought, heavens, why am I not working in tourism? I think when you've worked in tourism, I think you'd all agree that it is an absolute passion. It's just something you don't let go of. And so I decided I'd go consulting. Now, because my company was Panache Enterprises, my first consulting business was called Projects with Panache. But unfortunately, people didn't understand what projects was or what tourism was. So I kind of struggled with that word. And I again took a couple of years out in the middle of that because my partner became very ill and I became his carer. At the beginning of last year, I reconnected with my consulting. I happened to be talking to a tourism colleague who'd just gone through a branding process with a local agency, and because I was struggling with, I need to rebrand my website. How was I going to go about that? So she suggested I'm just going to introduce now that she suggested I have a look at a TED Talk, Simon Sinek, who is a marketer, speaker, and it kind of opened up my mind about the whole thing, that you need to brand yourself instead of branding your product, and the way that people market themselves. So with that thought in mind, I engaged a local branding agency, and I eventually branded under my own name. And I really wanted it to make it more personal for people to connect with me, which I believe I've now achieved. So I just wanted to preface the whole thing about personal branding versus branding a business. When people start a business, it's usually the result of a dream or a need. Customers buy from people, not a company, at least in the startup stage. And so that's why it's important to build a personal brand in parallel and before your business brand. This will kickstart your business and it will improve your odds of success. So what does it mean to brand yourself? Branding yourself means to make yourself visible and communicating via all avenues your personal value and what you stand for with total clarity and consistency. It's especially important to highlight your uniqueness in some ways and in some easy way for people to connect with you and think of what you do in case that they need your product or a service. So hence the requirement to get clear on the who, what, how, and why of branding. Who is your niche or target market? How will you best serve them with your solution? What are you providing? And will your brand add value? And just to remember that your why, you are at the core of your brand, and you're there to basically to provide solutions. So Simon Sinek, just to introduce him again, his concept was to really focus on your why when you're starting out, which is the principles behind everyone's business, that people don't buy what you do, but they buy why you do it. So it's an inside-out design of how people make decisions. So most people function the other way. So when with those what, how, and why, when those three pieces are aligned, it gives us a filter to actually how we make those decisions. Simon Sinek actually developed this circle. It's called the golden circle. And for it to work consistently, the whole three areas, they have to be in balance. So if you don't know why you do what you do, you can't expect anyone else to know that either. So every individual knows what they do. It's their job titles, but whatever you do, you must be consistent. Some individuals know how they do it. Sorry, I've just lost my train of thought because my cat's being a bit silly. I'm just going to throw him out the door. Excuse me, just one moment. Apologies for that. Yeah, so some individuals don't know how they do what they do. These are the things that make them special or set them apart from their competition. But very people know why they do what they do, and it's not just about making money. That's just a result. It's why is a purpose, it's a cause, or a belief. So with the idea of getting clear on your why, people naturally, the diagram on the left is people naturally communicate from the outside in. They promote their product as being what and how they do it. But the whole idea is we should be promoting why we do it. So the diagram on the right is the way that leaders inspire people and think about how they should be promoting themselves. So if you start with your why and lock into your values and your passion, you're better able to communicate your purpose with decision making and your behaviour. So if we start off with who in defining your target market, you need to start thinking before you actually start building your brand. If you're able to answer these questions about positioning yourself, who am I, what do I stand for, who do I serve, how best do I serve and how can I serve them? So you begin to start branding yourself to set yourself apart as the expert. So why do you need a personal brand? So if you start thinking about that you are at the core of your brand, you started your business to provide solutions. Personal branding is a necessity. We do live in the digital age. More than ever, small businesses are finding it a challenge to have market share. So it really is about how you're promoting yourself online and off. And more than ever, it's important to share your story for people to connect directly with you, with your product or your service. So if you start thinking about your story, starting on the discovery stage of what your story is, what are your goals, your approach, and how you're going to manage that, that all becomes part of your personal brand mission statement. So, for example, if you can say it in one sentence to someone, what do you want to be? What are you best at? Who do you serve? What makes your point of difference? And then that forms the basics of your personal branding. For example, your personal brand is your character, your story, your values, and your target market. That helps you with marketing, with value content, social proof, your call to action, and who you're talking to, your prospects and your clients. The eventual goal is that creates your sales funnel of acquiring your customers, creating awareness, and your eventual success. So your brand promise with your marketing, it increases your trust and credibility, creates goodwill, and it positions you as an authority. So how to be seen as the authority, how will your brand add value? And it really is about understanding your unique point of difference to become the expert in your field and to leverage yourself and your business. So how are you perceived in the marketplace? For example, your personal relationship, what do your friends say about you? Your professional relationships, what do your colleagues and customers say about you? And your online presence, if you were to Google yourself, what would actually come back in search results? So whatever you do, you need to be consistent with your message when you're defining your goals to enable you to build a strategy in order to achieve them. So I've just put a diagram here so you have a bit of understanding about how you define your personal goals. So everything you do, everything you say about how you're putting yourself out into the marketplace. So for example, on the left-hand side there, what type of content will you be posting? Everything that you should do should have a consistent message. So who is your current audience and what kind of audience would you like to attract with your business? What is compatible with what you're putting out there? And what do you want to achieve with your brand? So if you start from a knowledge base of talking straight, instead of just talking from your head about where you want to be, if you start connecting and make it from the heart about how best you want to communicate, it becomes more authentic with your personal branding. So the what, to be seen as the authority, again, what do you want to achieve? And if you're focusing on your sector, and what is it you're wanting to create with your personal products in your field? It's about developing your style, and this is how you plan your communication to be clear and consistent. And again, what is your unique point of difference that sets yourself apart from any other business? For example, there's so many restaurants out there or hotels. What is it that is going to, what can you focus on that is going to be your unique point of difference that you can market, and people will come to you versus Joe Blow down the road? And again, your brand has personality and style. So what's that going to look like? So the top 5 tips on to build a successful and personal brand. I've just done a little bit of a recap there, but it's when you're marketing yourself and putting yourself first before you're sort of getting yourself out in the marketplace, I'm noticing more and more that people are wanting to connect directly with the person. They're wanting to hear backstories, and so it's very important these days to share your personal story, where you've come from, what we've created in our lives, and what's shaping us every day. But our main story comes from a point normally of transition in our lives, you know, when you have those light bulb moments of why you do what you do. So it's a time in our lives usually when things have changed. In tourism especially, it's important that people connect to these days people are connecting to feelings. We're selling feelings. So in the target market, we need to get really clear with our message. If we can remember that people buy from people, and it is a relationship building exercise, focus on building like and trust, and building your authority in the marketplace. So be unique with your story, grow your community online and off, and that will be different for most probably every tourism operator. If you have a touring company, my suggestion is actually with marketing on social media, trial a platform to start with to sort of see what resonates with your target market. And from there, trial other platforms to sort of see what works for you and what connects immediately. So my tip is to brand yourself, to set yourself apart from your competitors. Share your passion with what you love. It is about your personality, of what you put into it. For example, if you really love travel, use that in your marketing. And just remember that with your brand, your personal brand, that will evolve as you evolve. As your business grows, it's not something that you say, right, this is your brand and it stays at that point. It's going to be constantly evolving as your business grows, and you may need to tweak it along the way. So if you're still working on it, no problems. Like I did, I think it would be easy to sort of mind map it and sort of set it out on paper as to how you'd like to see it and be perceived in the marketplace. It's something that you shouldn't feel pressurised about, but enjoy the process along the way. So your purpose, and look, I've just been to some market classes recently about people not understanding their whole niche. But if you start off with your purpose, it's not what you do, it's who you are. So just going to do a little bit of a recap on the whole branding with Simon Sinek's model, and just a bit of a recap. So the what, starting from that model, is every individual knows what they do. It's their job title or their roles. The how is some individuals know how they do what they do. They may call it their differentiating value proposition, or their unique selling point. It's the hows of their individual strengths, the values, and their guiding principles. So these are the things that they feel that set them apart from their competition, the things that they think that make them special or differentiate from everyone else. And again, your why, very few people can clearly articulate why they do what they do. Why is a purpose, it's a cause or a belief. It provides a clear answer to questions of why do we get out of bed every morning? Why does your organisation exist, and why should that matter to anybody else? Making money is not a why. Revenues, profits, salaries, and other monetary measures are simply results of what we do. So the why is about our contribution to impact and serve others. So just going back to that model from before, if we're don't think from the outside in, which is the what and the how, because people naturally communicate from the outside in. They typically grow from what is easiest to understand to what is hardest to understand and explain. They tell people what they do. They tell them how they are different or better, and then they expect a behaviour like a purchase, or support. Maybe if I could give you a case example for a what with a law firm. So a person would say, here is our law firm, and the how would be, we had the industry's most intelligent lawyers who graduated from the world's top schools. Have you seen our client list? Check out our offices. And the problem is the what and the how is they don't inspire action. Facts and figures make rational sense, but people do not make decisions based on facts and the figures. Starting with what is what commodities do. Starting with why is what leaders do. So if we go to the inside out models, leaders and organisations with a capacity to inspire and think, act and communicate from the inside out, they start with their why. So when they communicate with their purpose or cause first, they communicate in a way that drives decision making and behaviour. It taps the part of the brain that influences behaviour. So if we were going to take that same example with a law firm and start with their why, the why would be, we believe in servicing the needs of others so they can focus on the difference they need to make. The how would be, we do so by bringing some of the most intelligent legal professionals who graduated from the world's top schools. We work with top performing organisations, most of which on the Fortune 500 list, so that we can help them make a larger difference in the world. And the what is, we are a world-class law firm. Come and see it for yourself. So if the people at this firm actually believe in their why and think, act and communicate starting with their why, they'll attract the people who believe what they believe and who want to be part of their cause. So it's just an about-face of thinking of putting the why first and locking into your passion and developing your actual personal brand.
Jo, can I just jump in there really quickly? Is that all right? Sorry, I know I'm not giving the presentation, but I really love this this element of it, because I think especially in the tourism game that the majority of us exist in, we're facing, I guess, a clientele or our visitors are more educated than they've ever been, insofar as they've researched more than likely a bunch of different products online. They've checked out, and maybe shortlisted to 2 or 3 different accommodations or tours or transport options, whatever it is that's relevant to their trip. So what is going to be the determining factor in their decision to purchase is definitely going to be the why. And that's something that I think the good operators, the why comes through, and they do, because it's not only a why with regards to their business, it becomes a part of them. And I find that I can automatically identify those people because, and we all know it, you sit with them or you talk to them on the phone or even through an email conversation, you get a feeling that that's the person I want to deal with. And all of a sudden, the other 2 products that were comparable, because let's face it, products aren't necessarily all unique. It's just how we package them and how we promote them. So, the personal element, the personal brand shows through, whether it's a small business or a big business. And I think that's what, this is kind of all about. This is where we can, with consistency and being genuine, is where these inside-out models really, really come to the fore. So I love it. I think it's fantastic. Sorry to interrupt, but I just
no. And thanks for value adding there. And I guess you've brought it down to brass tacks. That is exactly why. I mean, there's just so much competition out there, and if you, it's the reason that, as you just gave the example, there's so many people doing the same thing. We've got a very savvy target market now, and people, unfortunately, we're too visible in some ways that people look at reviews online and are really quite cruel. You look at your TripAdvisor, it's just very instant. So people are wanting to connect more with people and they're passionate about why they're doing things than ever before. So, why does someone go to a restaurant, for example? It's the customer service they get. They like to hear the personal stories. They love to hear that the owner stops by the table and has a chat and about why they started their business. And it's not just about the money. Yes, that's the end result, but it's definitely about connecting directly with people and sharing stories these days and having that point of difference. So might just sort of, Adrian, see if there's any questions coming in from people at this point of time. I mean, I could go on because it's such a passion with me with the whole branding, but perhaps if we might just open it up for questions at this point of time to sort of see if there's any particular questions anyone's struggling with at the moment.
Yeah, we haven't got any in particular at the moment, but unless there was something to go forward with, I really liked, and I don't know if anyone else sort of thought about this as well, but when you mentioned with the marketing, trialing one platform first,
Yes.
I think that's really, really important. Can you sort of go into that a little bit more? Because I know a lot of people get so panicked by digital and social media. They're like, oh God, I've got to be on Insta, I've got to be on Facebook, I've got to be on Twitter, I've got to be on LinkedIn, but they're all so very different. And if you tried to keep up with all of them, you drive yourself batty. So do you want to go over that a little bit, like why it's important and maybe how you choose which one? I don't know.
Yeah, definitely, Adrian. Yeah. Look, with my whole branding, I realised that I needed to, and for people to connect with me more, I needed to actually, I'll use the word expose. I needed to expose myself more out in the marketplace and raise some awareness of my brand. And for me, I'd always liked Facebook years ago. It's interesting with some of my clients and other people out networking, interesting the struggles people are going through with social media. A lot of people don't actually have time to sort of get on, and that's why I sort of suggest that if you start with one platform and get really proficient at it, you might like to trial other platforms. Personal favourites for me, obviously LinkedIn for business. You need to be on LinkedIn. And I'm a little bit naughty at the moment. I haven't actually updated mine as much as I could, but I attended marketing masterclasses in Texas last year. I had the opportunity, I'm a member of an affiliate marketing program that teaches entrepreneurs to brand and market their business online. So with Facebook years ago, I've kind of kept it to just personal because we have friends in many states and overseas. And then I realised with the whole trend of people, well, it is social. That's what we've got to remember with social media. It is about being social, but even more so, for example, Facebook, even more with the trends is people are advertising more on Facebook. It's become less of that social platform or more about promotion. Instagram is, and by the name of it, is instant. People are jumping on Instagram more and more, and there's just opportunities there that you can really showcase yourself and your product very easily by putting a post out there. I would recommend with businesses, don't try to be too scattergun. Try and have a proper communication plan that, for example, you might have seasonal offers that you can promote. So you have a strategy around that to start promoting yourself and your business. Also, too, with the age of video is very, very popular. Facebook now, apparently, the stats are that people don't always open video. Facebook Live is great because it's instant, but if you're posting up a video, do put, I was going to say subcontext, that's not the word. Put, mental blank.
Some copy or a title, is that what you mean? Or
yeah, just as you're talking, I'm just trying to think of the actual program, but it actually puts a script on screen as you're talking. So people don't always click things these days. They're only on it for so many seconds. Do have a YouTube channel to upload your videos. That's another way of getting traction and marketing yourself. You've got your other little ones that like Snapchat or whatever, but I actually think they're a little bit fatty. Again, it's up to you to try different platforms to sort of see what works for your business.
Exactly, and I think a really great idea is as if you've been in business for a while, or you know the people that you're that are involved in groups with similar passions. So if it was travel that you're interested in, then research some travel groups on Facebook or Instagram and find out where those people hang out. And that's maybe a good indicator of where you can start building your brand, via whether it is Insta or Facebook or whatever.
Yes.
Great answer. I've got a question here from Ian. He's asked, or he said, agree regarding keeping promises, but what happens if for some reason you fail in an aspect? How honest should you be? So I think, Ian, and please correct me if I've got this wrong, but I think what you're asking is, it's if your business falls down in one area, do you need to expose that in the interest of transparency? Or if it doesn't really impact the outcome, can you just sweep it under the carpet?
No, be totally transparent. People are a tough audience these days, and everything that I've been taught with marketing, especially in recent times, is be totally transparent. People will connect with you more if you are transparent and admit you've made a mistake. That's part of being authentic these days. Admit you've made a mistake and actually address it. So it could be that you turn it around to your advantage. Marketing these days is negativity with a positive spin. So if you can turn it around for yourself, and it can actually become a plus for your business.
I think you're right. There was a great example. I think it was Kohls.
Recently.
It was within the last 12 to 18 months. Kohls received a photo. I think it was on Instagram with it was either a snail or a worm or something in their bag of rocket. I think it was rocket. And, it was like, found this in the bloody bag of rocket, Kohls, your crap, whatever. And within, I think it was an hour, Kohls went back and said, oh, thank goodness you found little Barry, or whatever they called the snail. We were so worried about him. We're so sorry that you had to look after him for a while, but we will. And they offered a free shopping trolley worth of stuff for these people. So, and it turned into this kind of cute, quirky response that admitted the problem in a nice, funny way, took all the heat out of the situation because the person was obviously a bit angry and maybe after something too. We do live in that society a little bit, but then it almost went viral and everyone started thinking, how cool's Kohls? And, so it helped build that brand again. So you're right. I think, and Ian, I hope that answers the question. I think you're right. Provided you can turn it around and don't make the same mistake over and over, then I think it's 100% the right thing to do to be completely honest and open.
And the other thing is keeping up with the latest trends. So if you can we can't always predict. Great marketers, top marketers out there are constantly looking at trends and how they can get in front of the target market. But you really need to keep up with what's going on out there with branding. And again, I think by being personal and sharing your stories, how you connect with people the most.
Absolutely. And I think an important part of that, Jo, I'm sure everyone in the room at the moment would participate in networking events or networking sessions. I think it's a really fabulous way to learn, I guess, how other people are promoting their brand. And we've all been in a situation where you walk into a room and you see a certain person or a couple of people who kind of had I don't want to say aura, but they have a bit of a presence about them without doing anything. And I think, when there's the techniques and the studies and research that you can look at with regards to branding, but I think if you just sidle up to those people and just kind of copy what they do, emulate how they create the presence and how they speak, and then I guess turn it into your industry or your particular business or personal brand, and just tailor it to yourself. Because there's nothing wrong with seeing someone awesome and emulating them. I mean, we did it when we were kids. I used to dress up as Batman, and I still think he's awesome. But it is, I think, networking, getting out there and learning how other people create their brand can be really beneficial. Would you agree, Jo?
Absolutely. And I'm just going to give a couple of examples of personal branding and getting back to my message before about being consistent. It really is so important. to be consistent with all of your marketing on your messages so your target audience don't get confused. For example, if I were to say in the restaurant game, Stephanie or Maggie, most people would understand Stephanie Alexander or Maggie Beer and how they've developed their personal brand over the years. We understand they've had restaurants, they've had TV shows or whatever, but just by what does the image conjure up just by saying their name? They've both been passionate about regional produce and not playing around with food too much and educating the public about food. And so, yes, their brand and message has been very consistent and clear over the years. And on a larger scale, if you think about Apple or I was going to say Coke, whenever they roll out their ads, their message always is about a feeling, about people to connect with what they do first before they'll have people dancing around with headphones on, for example, with Apple, and you've seen in the past with Coke, there's people dancing around. So you think immediately about connecting with a feeling and what it can do for you versus actually pushing the brand and the product. So does anyone have questions on that and about how they can actually apply their personal brand?
We do actually have it's kind of a similar question, I think. But Mary has asked, what media do you recommend to upgrade a person's presence on personal Google searches? What media do you recommend to upgrade a person? I'm not sure if that'd be a media or a method. Like what?
Yeah, what does Mary mean by media, I wonder?
I'm not sure. Mary, if you could just type in what you mean by media, I'll just fill for a sec while you do that. I'm interested what you said.
I was just going to say that these days, if we're talking about Facebook, Facebook ads apparently have more traction with algorithms than even Google searches. So there's been a lot of changes with Google searches and algorithms recently with SEO searches. It's all changed in the last month, actually. So people with advertising wanted to be at the number one spot, but that's all changing. Online or newspaper presence, online.
Online, definitely.
Online.
I think, Mary, one thing that's very interesting is that Facebook, if your business is on there, if you have a business Facebook page, actually provide a ridiculous amount of resources that unless you go looking for them, you don't know about. They're free, the majority, and I was speaking to Facebook recently, and they can actually help you market your business for a budget of like $10 a week. You don't have to spend a lot of money. So as far as promoting your presence is concerned, I agree with Jo. I think online, I think one of the main things though is to keep it consistent so that people know what to expect from you. And that's what I was going to get to a little bit earlier when we're talking about those celebrity chefs or all those chefs, is not all of us are going to be in the same job for the rest of our life. So what is really, really important is that our personal brand remains consistent so that no matter where we go, we take our audience with us. So you take your community, they'll follow you regardless, and lo and behold, they'll be interested in your next career move. I guess, sorry, Mary, what sort of online though? Our business Facebook covers the business.
Yeah, you need a personal page, but you definitely need a business page because you can do more with that. And I was just going to suggest as a marketing strategy, so you're not reinventing the same. It takes a lot to do content. So unless you're going to outsource it to someone, you can keep it really simple by having one piece of content and pushing it out to different social media. Facebook, definitely run a Facebook ad. It can be really simple just to increase your likes. You need an audience to sell to. So, run a really simple Facebook ad. You can do it for as low as $5 a day. But as you're saying before, Adrian, never is an easier time than now to market online. There's just so many, with Facebook especially, encouraging how to get in contact or best target your demographics. And at least the good thing with the Facebook advertising, you can stop and start that promotion at any time, whereas newspaper, you pay high dollars. I'm not saying you don't run a newspaper presence, but I know for myself, when I had my restaurant, it was really before the social media. I closed it about 10 years ago now, and I so wished I could have had Instagram or Facebook in those days with all the beautiful catering we did. It would have been so much easier than flyers. I remember once I paid $3,500 to go into a magazine, and I really did have no return on investment. So the good thing about social media, at least you can trial different things and really cost effective. So for example, if you're doing, and I'd suggest blogging, and that's another way of getting your personal brand out there for people connecting directly with you. Personal interest stories could be something you're passionate about. I mentioned before about travel. It could be that if in a restaurant game, it could be you showcase your favourite dishes. Places that you've visited, if you're in travel, that you're really passionate about, and showing snapshots, how to. And with the blog, not only if you put it on, if you don't have to have a massive website these days. You can just have a landing page that people come to you so long as you have an offer or something on there. And I'd suggest that you push your instead of creating a lot of content, push that one pillar post out to LinkedIn, for example. Could do a promo on Instagram. There's a lot of ways of getting your personal brand out there that's really cost effective.
Yeah, agreed. And I think Mary's just added, so are you saying put Facebook ads, excuse me, on a personal site as well as business? I think, and Jo...
No.
Sorry?
At this point of time, Facebook doesn't allow them personal. It's just, that's why you need a business page.
Yeah. So I think, Mary, if I understand rightly, I think in order to build the business, then go nuts on the business page. In order to build the personal brand, I think the personal brand can point to the business, and the business page is where the ads are. So I think the important thing is, and as Jo mentioned, you don't need to create all the content yourself. You can curate it from others. You can use your customers or your clients' posts, etc., and sort of tag them and point them back to your business page. But the main thing is that what you put on your personal page, if it's going to relate to the business, needs to marry up with everything else that you've posted. And I think of athletes when it comes to this, that a lot of the athletes with their personal brands, they get it wrong, because you'll see an image of them, an image of them doing something wrong, and that doesn't marry up with being a professional athlete, and all of a sudden they're out in the cold. And there's been plenty of examples of that in Melbourne within the AFL, for example. So the consistency is important. And I'm just reading your next comment, Mary. Google searches were important on a personal level. Jo?
We have a business site, but I'm talking personal. She suggests Google searches were important on a personal level. Yeah. So, for example, if you're searched on Google, like, for example, Mary, if you put your name in, what comes up? And what I'm saying about being consistent is you don't want to do something that isn't aligned with your brand. It has to be consistent with your brand. And you just made a point there, Adrian, that when you brand yourself personally, you can have several businesses, but it's about you, your person, that is transferable to any business, that people get who you are. So right. If you get totally out of hospitality and go and start a marketing company or whatever, you still have your audience, because you're selling your story to your target market, and they actually get what you do, and then as you build the like and the trust, they'll actually then buy from you. So that's the underlying point, is really raising your credibility, so people get what you do when they immediately hear or see your name. They get what you do. So my point being that if you are searchable, that whatever you're doing, your message out there has to be consistent. What are people saying about you?
Yeah, and I see your latest message, Marion. I think it might be an idea for Jo, yourself and Mary to maybe have a chat after or the webinar or in the not too distant future, simply because it looks like there's some, it's a bit more complex, and I did misunderstand, Mary. You're talking about looks like all of your staff or the majority of the people working for you. But one thing from your personal perspective, you're right, you can't control everybody else. But one thing is Google loves activity. So the more activity there is, and the more relevant and consistent even keywords are, you use the same phrases, the same words, all of a sudden you will jump up in those, the Google Analytics and the rankings. So consistency in not only what you write, but when you do it and how often you do it, provided it's, it all matches up with what your business needs and your personal brand needs, then that will definitely see you rise in the rankings.
If it's your own personal page that people are posting things on that aren't consistent, I'd suggest you delete them. I've done that in the past where people are just promoting their own personal business, or I really keep a watchful eye on my personal page, what actually goes on there. I don't want any negativity, because it kind of says that you condone it if it stays on there. So I watch out for anything that's negative and that isn't consistent. It's great to have comments to open up the channels of communication, but if it isn't consistent with your brand, I would very much consider taking it off there.
Awesome. I couldn't agree more. And you're not running away from it, you're just controlling what's important to you, which is an interesting and important distinction
and if
to make.
As we mentioned before, turn it around and make a positive out of it.
Very good. Well, in the interest of time, we appreciate that we've taken an hour or 56 minutes of your time at this point. So unless there are any last-minute questions, I think we might actually wrap it up. And thank you. Oh, Scott. Okay, thank you. Perfect. How important are hashtags?
Yes. With the algorithms, they are searchable, especially on Instagram if you're using it. I could just run a little class on Instagram, actually. I just love playing with it, and it's changing constantly. People say it's not as important on Facebook. I know that it is still searchable. Very much it is most welcome, Ian. It is very important. I'll just give you a little tip actually on Instagram if you're doing posts, is to not do your hashtags in your post itself, but to post hashtags in your comment box. And if you put in 5 little dots, like lined up under each other, and there's a little app called HashMe, that will create the top 30 hashtags, and that will really push up the hashtags about what is current in your niche. So that app was called HashMe, and pop those in and you'll see that you'll get more followers that way. But another tip is to actually respond to your followers. And with Facebook, they say it's not as important. I still do it. I post on Instagram and I push it across to Facebook within half an hour, but I always post. And again, when you're posting, make sure you do it early in the day. You can schedule posts. The best time is, unfortunately, I hate to say this, but people do like to look at their social media while they're in bed. So if you can get something up at 5:30 in the morning And also when people are online, which when they have early evening, like any time from 5 o'clock onward is when you post to get more traction. But,
exactly. And I think one thing, sorry to jump in, Jo, I think one thing with the hashtags as well, I love that point about not making your actual post full of hashtags. There's nothing worse than seeing something that is hashtag awesome day, hashtag love my Friday, hashtag my job's awesome, or whatever. Make your comment short, sharp, and shiny, and then apply whether it's, what was the app called? Hashme?
It's called Hashme. There are other ones. I find that's really, really simple. So if you if you have an iPhone, you then paste that into your notes section and then copy it and put it into your comments section.
Exactly. And what I find important as well is, and I'll be interested in your take on this, Jo, is that if the people who do post their photo on Insta and share it on Facebook from Instagram with hashtags in it, it doesn't have the same impact on Facebook when you read it. It's as you automatically look at it and go, oh, they've just done that from Insta. The benefit or for the extra effort of posting natively, so that means going into Facebook, use the same photo, but change the actual post and do it for Facebook makes a huge difference. If you've got the time, try not to be, I guess, lazy by doing it in one and covering it all. Yeah, do it that way. And Thomas loves hashtagging before bed. Okay, that's interesting. I think that's a session for another day, Thomas, which is but we can get to that.
It is a habit, but because I've got friends all over the world, and especially my newfound USA friends, because they're up at different hours and they think that they can private message you. But I mean, I have to say it is fun as well, that the fact that you work globally these days, and that's the point too with being consistent with your brand. People are really interested in what people are doing. Americans love Australians. So if you want to promote something, just get on board and do something uniquely Australian.
Fantastic. Well, guys, that's our hour up almost exactly. Thank you so much, Jo. I think it's been a great presentation and some really valuable nuggets there for everybody that's been in the room today and for those who listen to the recording a little bit later on. Everybody, be sure to look up Jo. Her website is www.jo-Anne Grist. You see it on the screen there, .com.au. And Jo will definitely help out anyone who requires it. And, of course, you can hit myself or any of the VTIC team on our website, vtic.com.au, and be sure to join our Facebook page. And I'm not fussed if anyone follows my personal one either. So keep an eye out on your email, guys, and on the Facebook pages for more information and the chance to register for our next webinar, which will be in June. And that one's going to be focusing on Google Analytics for tourism businesses, large and small. Now, Jo, just before we wrap up finally, I believe there was something you were prepared to offer to the guys in the room.
Yes, Adrian, I have 2 complimentary business strategy sessions, a 1-hour business strategy session to offer members today. So if there's anyone online now that is a little bit stuck in where they're heading at this point of time, I'd love to be able to offer a complimentary strategy session. In fact, I have 2 complimentary strategy sessions I'd like to give away today. So
it's very generous, Jo.
Like to handle, but
I think we can recommend jump on the first 2 people to jump on Jo's website. I'm sure there's a contact page there. Is there, Jo?
Yes.
Perfect. First 2 people to jump on on Jo's website, fill in the contact details, and receive. You can't do much better than a free business consultation where you can really drill down into your personal nuts and bolts of your business, that is, of course. Guys, have a great day. Thank you so much for listening. And if you liked it, be sure to post to your friends and get them involved next time, because we're here, our wise to make the world a better place, one webinar at a time. So we've been Adrian and Jo from VTIC and Jo-Anne Grist, and we look forward to seeing you all again soon. Thanks, Jo.
Thanks, Adrian.